Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 17 and compare it against the iPhone XS and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, the thing I can definitely tell you between these types of devices is that I'm a big fan of the iPhone XS. I think it's a very, very good phone, but at the same time, I think the iPhone XS might be a little bit older as of this point, and it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to go through and basically use an iPhone XS anymore, especially if you're comparing it against the iPhone 17. So we're going to go ahead and kind of see how these phones kind of hold up, basically see if you should go and upgrade from an iPhone XS to an iPhone, 17, or seeing if there's other devices out there that, might be worth installing or getting. If you want to pick up either one of these phones that I would recommend buying this year though, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these types of devices. The iPhone XS originally came out back in 2018. So it is quite a bit, older than it was before. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. And it is going to be one of those types of devices that is going to be kind of showing its age for the most part. So with something like an iPhone XS, this phone on the front side is giving you a 5.8-inch Super Retina HD display. So within this type of panel, it's not a bad panel by any means, and it still does a good job at a lot of things that you're going to throw at it, right? Like it still is giving you like a decent display, and it's an OLED display, so it is going to hold up decently well compared to some of the competition, and that is something that is actually kind of nice. Now with something like the iPhone XS, this type of device is still going to be giving you these like decent viewing angles. It doesn't get the brightest, but the main problem with a device like this is that you are basically going to be getting, kind of like a 60 hertz display. And that is going to be a main disadvantage here compared to some of the competition. With the iPhone 17, this phone is going to be giving you a significantly better type of display. So this one is basically going to be able to give you a 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. It's going to be a far better performing panel than a lot of the competition. It's going to be 120 hertz. And on top of that, it's going to be one of those types of panels that is going to hold up very, very well, from basically every angle. So it's going to be a very good panel. The viewing angles are going to be great. I think there's a lot of things to love about something like an iPhone 17, and it still holds up very well in this day and age as well. So it's a significantly better panel, ProMotion display, which is awesome. And it's also going to be giving you 3000 nits of peak brightness. Like that's crazy nice to have inside of a panel like this. So that right there gets a thumbs up from me. Now, the iPhone XS is giving you a lightning port at the bottom, which is a disadvantage a little bit. The iPhone 17 is going to be giving you this USB Type-C port. So it is very nice to have that type of USB Type-C port inside of an iPhone 17 because it is just giving you a better type of charging than the iPhone XS. On the backside, standard glass back on the iPhone XS. The 17 is giving you a frosted glass back. So that right there is also an advantage for the iPhone 17 because you are going to be getting a slightly better type of experience kind of on the 17. You're getting dual camera setups on the back of both, which is interesting. Wireless charging on both. You are getting a MagSafe type of capability on the iPhone 17, which is really nice. But I would say beyond both, they both hold up fairly well. There's not like an insane amount of things to complain about here. But I will tell you, a phone like an iPhone 17 does give you the highest likelihood of feeling like a flagship over something like an iPhone XS when it comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of that, another very important thing to keep in mind here too is that between both these types of devices, the iPhone 17 is going to be significantly more expensive than a XS. But again, I wouldn't recommend anyone buying a XS anymore. But if you're looking at a 17, for $800, I think it's a good phone. But there's also some phones you can buy for like $400 that are still pretty decent, like an iPhone, 13 Pro or an iPhone, 14 Pro for like $400 or $500. Those are also still very good options as well if you don't want to spend $800 on an iPhone 17. When it comes down to the cameras, the iPhone XS is giving you this dual camera setup, and it's basically a wide and telephoto lens, where the iPhone 17 is giving you a wide and ultra-wide camera. Now you might think the iPhone XS is slightly better because it is giving you that, extra, like that telephoto lens. You have the same zooming in on both, 2x zoom on both of them. So even though the iPhone 12, or not the iPhone 12, the iPhone 17 doesn't have that, dedicated telephoto lens, you are still going to be getting that type of feature set on the iPhone 17, which in and of itself is very awesome. So that right there, I think, is a really big advantage for something like an iPhone 17 when it kind of comes down to it. Now, they're both giving you, the iPhone 17 gives you 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is awesome. You're also going to be able to get some new features on the iPhone 17, including the center stage capability, which is awesome, and dual capture mode, where you can record both the front and the back camera at the exact same time. That right there is a really big advantage for something like an iPhone 17 when it comes down to it from that standpoint as well. So I will tell you, in my personal opinion, the iPhone 17, it's a really, really, good camera, and it is a significantly better type of camera than something like an iPhone XS. And that right there is a very important thing to keep in mind there from that standpoint as well. Now, when it comes down to some other areas, like their software longevity, this is also going to be another thing to keep in mind here. The iPhone 17 is just getting started with software updates, where the iPhone XS is kind of done getting software updates. So if you're wanting the phone that is going to be giving you kind of a better experience from that software standpoint, perspective, the iPhone 17 has a higher likelihood here of lasting for a longer period of time. Not only that, it's already lasting longer because it just got started, and the iPhone XS is basically done getting software updates. So that is always one of those big things to keep in mind there. And again, if you're in the market and you're going to go through and pick up a device, something like the iPhone XS is going to be a far better type of device than something like an iPhone 17. It's going to be a far better device than an iPhone XS. When it comes down to their battery life, Apple states the XS gives you about 14 hours of video playback, where the iPhone 17 gives you about 30 hours. So that right there also is another big, difference here, because if you're wanting the phone that is going to be giving you better type of capability from that standpoint, again, the iPhone 17 is probably going to be the one that's going to be giving you way better battery life. It's going to be giving you, just based off Apple's thing, it's going to be giving you over twice the amount of battery life on the iPhone 17 than the iPhone XS, which is insane. And that's not even touching the performance. The iPhone XS is going to be giving you the A12 Bionic chip with 4 gigs of RAM. The iPhone 17 is giving you the Apple A19 chipset with 8 gigs of RAM. A way faster performing device on the iPhone 17 with way more RAM, twice the amount of RAM on the 17. That is going to be a big difference here if you're going from something like an iPhone XS to an iPhone 17. That's going to be a big difference. You're going to be getting a far better type of device in general from something like an iPhone 17 than an iPhone XS. And if you are trying to get the phone that is going to be the better one here in almost every single area, then like I said before, the 17 is going to be giving you a really good type of experience from that type of situation, which I think is awesome. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go from an iPhone XS to a 17. There are still a lot of similar devices between. There's like a lot of devices in between that you can also buy. Like I mentioned before, phones like an iPhone 14 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro. You don't have to go from an iPhone XS to a 17 unless you're getting it on a deal or value, or like it's a great deal or something like that, then go for it. Otherwise, there are still lots of other options out there in the market. So, yes, going from an iPhone XS to an iPhone 17 is a massive improvement, and you are definitely going to be able to go and get a way better device and a super capable device on an iPhone, 17. But I will still say, if you want to save a little bit of money and you don't need to go buy a 17, I think an iPhone 15 Pro is a very good option, and I'd probably recommend buying that one in some cases. Or if you want to save even more money, you can go through and buy something like an iPhone, 14 Pro, and still save a bit more money when it comes down to that side as well. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.